Matchmaking, and Happy New Year. If you're listening to the original broadcast of this show, it is Saturday, and the date just threw me off. First is Wednesday, so January 3rd, 2025. I meant to double check to see when I actually started this show, because I think I've been doing it over a year now, but I don't remember exactly when I started. Or if it's not over a year, we're getting close to being a year. You don't have to just listen to me. Bri joins me this morning.
Hello.
Maybe I know you've heard me talk about Bri. You've been on once or twice before?
This is my third time.
Third time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she's been on here a couple times. To reintroduce, Bri is the office manager, also one of the agents in the office. There are three of us, myself, Bri, and Kalia. And I just thought, hey, it's a new year, good time to kind of recap on some of the things that have changed over the year. Bri's it's been over 2 years now. She started in October 2 years ago, experienced one. So actually, you've gone through 3 enrollment periods. The first one just as a receptionist. So it's two enrollment periods as an agent. As I mentioned, she's been here 2 years. Staff is growing. We've added 2 people since she came on. As you mentioned, Kalia. So Kalia was her receptionist replacement, who also happened to be licensed. So last year, she got involved in the open enrollment, and then we added Lena this summer, just a little bit before open enrollment, and she's doing a bang-up job getting all our files and everything organized. So, I don't know, I've brought you on to talk, Bri, and I just keep talking.
It's your specialty. It's fine. I'll let it slide.
Oh, yeah, see there. Now, one of the things, too, and I don't know if I've mentioned it on here, Bri has also gotten involved in the Leadership Putnam program.
Yes.
And so I'd love to hear some thoughts on that. So I guess let's go ahead and just start there. Because obviously when you were on before, I said, okay, what do you think about insurance now that you're doing it? Because I know this isn't what you thought it would be when you come on, and it's and then leadership, you've been doing that for several months now. So, yes. Of course, we always have our preconceived notions of what something's going to be like. Share some things about that.
So, before I got, during the process, you have to fill out the application, you have to be approved. I was told, man, it's hard, it's more like school, but really it's not. You do learn a whole lot. You do have the paperwork at the end, but it's humbling too. The things that you get to see. The things that you get to experience. I'm not going to ruin surprises, but you also come together and network. You get to help the community. This year we got to, or some of the group got together and planted a garden at the cancer center, which was requested of the group this year. By one of the spouses at the cancer center. So just being a part of something big in the community is very rewarding.
And you sponsored my grandson's soccer team.
Oh, yes. So we did do that. It's fun to watch the littles run around clueless. Yes, he is. We did do that, and we also put together a little basket for our team, that little goodie bags for the kids and the coach. So we got to go out and do pictures and help hand that out. I
know you have a Capital Day coming up, and what month is that? Where you going to Nashville?
That's the last month, I believe.
The last month.
Yeah. It's towards the springtime, subject to change, of course, due to whatever's happening. But we are very excited about that. We actually get to go into the Capitol and tour. So and meet some pretty important people.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous, but excited.
So, yeah, so share a little bit about, like I said, this was in your third year to be involved with the open enrollment time, the first year of just kind of as an observer, but in this year, taking on a bigger role, you're branching out, getting some Medicare clients now, not just doing the ACA stuff. What's have you discovered in that process? What's kind of struck you, kind of a reflection?
So when I first started, and as a receptionist, I got to hear you educate people teach people. People don't know what's going on.
Right.
And then my second year getting involved, I was able to teach people more about the healthcare side, and I was able to do kind of exactly what you do, educate people on tax subsidy, the ins and outs of healthcare. And this year I set a goal for myself to do more Medicare. It's been an eye-opener. There's a lot of ins and outs, a lot of different, it's definitely different. There's a lot to learn. I made mistakes, but I learned how to fix them quickly. And people just appreciate your help, and it feels good to help people. That's kind of what I want out of a job, is to be able to help people.
Right.
I always go back and forth between, I want to do something bigger. I want to help people. My grandma always helped people. She was the caretaker. And I always follow her footsteps. And now I don't take care of people in that sense, but I do take care of them and their health.
Right.
Because I'm getting them a plan for them.
Right. I was just thinking on that, because you had one yesterday, and we'll sometimes kind of share certain case studies. Of course, we can't name names. Right. I don't want to lose my license for a HIPAA violation. What's the most unusual case or case that you had to get the most creative to get it done?
Oh, my Lanta. I guess it would be one from last week or even yesterday. Healthcare.gov is a very tricky.
I told you lately.
Yes. How much? Yes. Almost every day it feels like, even after open enrollment. But people go into healthcare.gov and they try to do it themselves. Bless them for trying. But if you don't do it right, it will mess everything up. Here lately, I guess where everybody's just been on it, we've had to do whole new applications just to fix something, because it'll say, it's you try to remove somebody and it. Yeah,
that's the biggest struggle I've ran into.
When you try to remove somebody out of a household, you're supposed to be able to do that. I mean, your kids, they age out.
Yeah.
And so that was one I had yesterday. Is a lady called, and my client called, and she had to remove her 19-year-old, and healthcare wouldn't let me. And then it would. And then I had to redo her whole application and act like it was a whole new thing. And it's just, the system doesn't work properly like it should. And so we have to get creative and figure out how to fix it. But then there's cases where last year where rogue agents were putting people on. Oh, gosh, yeah,
last year was terrible. Which and you've probably heard me complain on here, we have a lot of hoops that we have to jump through to get to be able to compliantly help someone. And it's made our job harder, and just I don't know, say harder. It's just added things to our plate when we were doing it, because other people are trying to re-enroll people into another plan so they can get paid on it, and they're just stealing clients, or they're tricking people.
That's another one of my crazy ones. Was I have sweetest lady who has heart problems. She was 2 days away from going into the hospital to have heart surgery. And found out that she was randomly put on a different plan because she answered the phone. Marketplace said all you have to do is answer the phone and they can switch you, and that's wrong. But I spent 3 hours on the phone with the Marketplace and my client getting it fixed, and we got it fixed, and she be able to go to the hospital that she was originally supposed to go to. So, I mean, that's one of my most memorable and most crazy ones, just because of the intensity of, she's fixing to have surgery.
Right.
A very major surgery.
Yeah. Bri mentioned about how people will get on there and they'll mess it up, or they get confused, and which is great, which is good for us, because then they call us for help, because they go, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, and it's really an easy fix. And I think one of the biggest things is, as I said, sometimes we have to get creative, or sometimes the way the questions are asked on online application. And at the very end, when you get done, there's a little statement that you have to say, I agree, and that everything's true under penalty of perjury. And so everybody wants to, hey, you're dealing with the government, so you want to make sure you don't answer anything wrong. Mm-hmm. When it's asking you about your income, it'll say, have you earned any income this month? This month has nothing to do with it.
Right.
It's especially if you're in the fall doing the open enrollment for the following year. It's asking you about your income for next year or the year that you're applying in. So of course, we're in the new year now. We still have not hit the final end date. We still have to January 15th to take advantage of open enrollment. But it'll ask, have you earned any income this month? And they'll answer no. And then it'll come back, you don't qualify for a tax credit. Well, you don't have any income this month because you left your job that had your insurance last month, and you're starting a new job next month or the month after. The question should be, will you have any income in this year or next year, whatever, the year you're applying for? That's what the question should ask. So people think they're lying if they don't say no because they're currently unemployed, but they're going to have a job or they plan on having a job. They know, they've had breaks in employment before. Right. And so they know, hey, I may be out for a month or two, but by the end of the year, I will have a job. Right. So we have to take advantage of that enrollment period and put in your estimated income for the year. Mm-hmm. Then you get your tax. Now, if you have if you estimate you're going to make $25,000 and you don't work at all the year, yes, technically they come back and say you didn't earn any income, and you said you were going to. Here's your tax credit's got to go back. I don't know anybody that's overestimated their income and didn't make it, and then because you have to have a minimum income. But they do take back if you make more than you estimated. That part's going to happen. But that's one of those things, like I said, sometimes people they just answer the question wrong. They're answering it right, literally.
For themselves,
but it's not the right answer for the situation. Mm-hmm. So just before we go on, we're actually coming up on our break, so I want to not get something started, but we'll give Bri some more time to talk after the break.
This holiday season, Habitat for Humanity's Restores are here to help you get your home ready for the festivities. Whether you're decking the halls or searching for the perfect gifts, our Restores have everything you need, from furniture and home decor to building materials, all at incredible prices. And don't miss our special event on December 21st. Bring the kids out to meet the Grinch himself from 10 a.m. to noon. It's the perfect way to make lasting memories and share a little holiday mischief. Habitat Restore off South Jefferson Avenue in Cookeville.
This is Emily Gibson, your Twin Lakes security consultant. On behalf of Twin Lakes, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our incredible customers for an amazing year. It's truly a blessing to serve our friends and neighbors across the Upper Cumberland with the best in telecommunication services. We are truly thankful for your trust and support, and we hold deep gratitude for everyone whose hard work and dedication continues to strengthen our communities. Together, we're building a brighter future, and we can't wait to see what 2025 brings. From all of us at Twin Lakes, Happy New Year.
And now, back to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby Insurance.
All right, we're back. And as I promised before we went on the break, I said I will give Bri some more chance to talk. But we were just talking about some of those unusual cases. Got anything else you want to share? You mentioned yesterday, that's what kind of made me think of it, because we did kind of have an unusual case yesterday. Tell us a little bit how that one, obviously, again, without naming names, but kind of what's transpiring there. It's an unusual situation. It's unusual. We had a lot of questions, but I don't think the situation was that strange, but it seemed very strange to him.
Right. So, and please, taxpayer or tax people, don't take offense to this. When people go to their tax person, or I assume CPAs, they kind of scare people when it comes to getting on healthcare or the marketplace.
Oh, yeah.
And that was this client's biggest concern was, well, he went to his tax person and got this big scare, and his income, he was gonna sell land and had a pension and had this, but thinking about going on disability. And when it comes down to it, talk to your agent or broker, because there's when he sells that land, he's not going to get that whole thing.
Right.
And adding all of this up, well, he's only going to, he's retiring half of the year.
Yeah.
So
his income's going to decrease because he's retiring.
Right. But then of course he's only coming in half the year. So it's not going to, I don't want to say matter so much, but it's not a big
It's not going to be as big an issue. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, as she mentioned on the tax thing, one of the big things was, and I explained to this gentleman yesterday, was before the inflation, or that wasn't the Inflation Reduction Act. It was the what they call it, the Recovery Act. It was that first piece of legislation during the Biden administration. One of the things it did was opened up the marketplace. That they increased the tax credit, the subsidy, as I've mentioned on previous shows. The tax credit, what helps you pay, helps make the Affordable Care Act insurance affordable, is you get a tax credit that's advanced to you to pay your premium, and that's based on income, and that subsidizes your monthly premium to make it affordable. There used to be a cap at 400% of the poverty level. You have to hit 100% of the poverty level, which is $15,000 and something for an individual.
$15,600 to be exact.
Okay. For a couple, and generally these are figures from a couple years ago, so some of that's changed because we've had cost of living adjustments. But it was, and I usually would run into it would be couples like in the early 60s. They're not old enough for Medicare yet. They're maybe semi-retired or getting ready to retire, maybe going to start drawing Social Security, but that combined, maybe one spouse is on Social Security, but the other one's still working, but doesn't have insurance through work, whatever the case may be. There would be a cap of like $69,000 of what you were eligible for tax credit. But they were figuring out their income's going to probably be about $65,000. At $65,000, a couple in their 60s was getting a very substantial tax credit. But what would happen sometimes, that's where you had to caution, and this is where I think the tax preparers are still thinking of it that way, is it's very easy to go over that $69,000 when and the biggest one I found is people that they have something go wrong, something breaks at the house, or they decide to do a project, and they take money out of their retirement funds, those IRAs, that raises your income when you draw that money out. It's now taxable income, and then they would be say over $70,000. Well, now they didn't qualify for any of the tax credit they received. So taking that 400% cap off, now the tax credit tapers off instead of, I used to describe it as like falling off a cliff, because as a couple, you could be getting $1,600 a month tax credit because you were at $65,000, and so that paid for most of or all of your premium, and then you just earned like $5,000 more and fell off the cliff, and you weren't entitled to that $1,600 a month. And when you went to file your taxes, you had to pay all that back. So that was the scary part. Now with the extension, again, the end of this year could change that. That sunsets at the end of 2025, the additional tax credit. So there will be, and it will take legislation. It's not just a matter of extending that tax credit. It was developed by legislation, but it had a sunset, and so the Trump administration will have to take on that issue. Not necessarily the Trump administration, but the Congress during the Trump administration is going to have, this year is going to need to address that, because there's going to be people, and they're talking about, these people are going to lose their health insurance. No, it's not going to cause anybody to lose their health insurance, but it could cause them to lose the subsidy that makes it affordable. So that's going to be a situation. I had a client recently, it's not an issue. His birthday's in January. He turned 64 this month. So next year, on January 1st, 2026, he'll be on Medicare. So he doesn't have to worry about the tax credit. He'll just be so that's going to be a nice, easy transition.
Right. Yeah, that makes it easier. Those are nice. I do tell people, though, and this is also what I told the gentleman yesterday, if you feel like you're going to meet your threshold that you estimated for the year, start putting some money back. And I'm talking, come August, September, when it's way too late to re-estimate everything and redo everything, start putting money back. We're talking, roughly $20 per $1,000. That changes. And I tell everybody this. I went over about $3,000 last year and only had to pay back $200.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so that's what scares people, is the paying back.
Right.
It's not as scary unless you make tens of thousands of dollars more.
Yeah. Well, that's like a lot of times when people say, I just got a raise at work. I need to update my income. And it was like a 25-cent an hour raise.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's just wait to open enrollment. We'll update your income for next year. It's not going to have that big of effect on your insurance this year.
Right. Yeah. And I always, tell people, hey, if you're worried and don't want to have to pay in, give yourself, I call it a safety net.
Right.
If you can make that premium, give yourself that safety net and don't worry about it.
Now, this is one of the things I'll caution those people, because we're going to get the phone calls on it here in the next week or two. You've got those people who like to early file their income tax. They want to get that refund as quick as they can. The marketplace will send you your 1095-A. We don't get that until they release it. We don't have access to it. Now, February and March, you don't have it. That's when you should contact to say you don't have it. They have until the end of, just like with your W-2, they have until the end of January to get that form to you. And you can't complete your income tax without it. Now, I've run into a couple people we've had on some of what they call the short-term plans, and their taxpayers, we have to have this form. We can't file your taxes. You're not going to get that form. You only get that form. You get the form. You get a 1095 if you have employer insurance, or you can get a 1095, and you don't even need the 1095 for employer insurance, because the only reason that came to pass was when there was a penalty for not having the ACA coverage that showed that you had creditable coverage that was a qualified health plan. The only other reason you need a 1095 is because you got a tax credit through the marketplace on your health insurance, and you have to reconcile those tax credits. You have to show your income and compare it to what you received in tax credit, so the government knows you earned more than you expected. You got more tax credit than you should have, so you owe some. Or, you made less than you estimated and you didn't get as much tax credit to help you with your health insurance. You should get some more of that back. So that's where it comes in. I have a lot of people kind of falling back on the client that Bri was working with yesterday, was the selling the land. And it's like, no, it's not the price. It's not what you sell it for. That's not your earnings. It's going to be, the difference between what you paid for it in what that's anything, the profit. We run into the Social Security. When it asks how much you earn Social Security, it's not income, but you count it as income for the marketplace, and that's going to be before anything comes out. Say you're the spouse, you're on Medicare, but you have to report your Social Security for your spouse because they're still under 65. It's your gross. It's before that Part B premium comes out, which is going to be $185 in 2025. And if you haven't caught that before, I think it's interesting that this year it's 100. It's 185. It's not 185.43 or it's 185. So it's real simple to be able to share that.
Yes, absolutely. Also, going back to starting the beginning of the year, you'll want to make your premiums for ACA, and then can either request your hard copy of your IDs on your accounts or apps, or give the company or carrier a call and request it. They do not send them out anymore automatically, I assume.
And that's on the ACA plans.
That's on the ACA plans. So, and a lot of doctors I've been hearing are not taking the digital copies. So I've been plagued with upper respiratory infection the last 2 weeks. And so while I was at the doctor's office, she asked me for my new ID card, and I said, ma'am, I don't have that yet. And so for 2025, so she was able to take my 24s. But I told her, I said, if you have anybody on my deathbed, I'm still working. I told the receptionist, I said, hey, if you have anybody who's complaining because they don't have their ID card, tell them they have to request it. So I was able to give her that information for people. So,
and also a note on that: if you didn't change plans, nothing really changed. If they file the claim on your visit the same, your ID number is the same, your plan number is the same, the number that they call or fax to is the same. So if you didn't change plans, It doesn't change. And generally, even if you stayed within the same company, your ID's not going to change. What your copays and things like that might change, but your card generally isn't what tells them what your copay is anyway. It's when they put the information in for your insurance, when they put your insurance information in, it comes back and say copay $20. It doesn't, or no copay. It doesn't. And some cards have it printed on there, but that's not where they get the actual what they should charge you copay. It's based on what they input in the system. So, any last thoughts? We're actually about to close out this half hour.
No, I just want to wish everybody a happy new year. May this year bless you. And if you have any questions about insurance, give us a call. Lena has been really good at answering those calls, getting people the information and forms that they need. Again, I stress that we do ask for forms to be filled out. We don't do it to be nitpicky. We have to have the information.
Yeah, and some of it, is required permission forms.
Yes.
So until next week, keep listening on the radio, and remember, at Matt Libby Insurance, we do cover you from head to toe, and it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg.
You've been listening to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance.